ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand new edition of Beyond the Curtain Wrestling Podcast. You got your boy Cody here, that is the host of the show, and I'm joined, as always, with these AEW recap shows by the man of the hour, the man of the power, host of the Takin the Bump podcast, Mr. James Beatley. Sir, how in the hell are you doing this evening?
Doing good, my friend. I'm doing good. Adventurous evening, not only in AEW, but in some other aspects personally. So I'll leave that there, but let's talk about the show tonight.
Did you actually even watch the show? I mean, we live in the same house. We're right around the corner from each other as far as sitting on the couch wise. We're staring at each other right now as we're doing this fit with this new setup we've got going on here, and we finally got our podcast room up and running. Still got a few additions we need to make, but we have finally got the desk. We finally started to get settled in here. It's awesome. Hopefully we can at least give you guys a little bit better content regarding that, as well as showing you around the room as well. But interesting episode of AEW tonight. Had quite a few tag matches. We had the Orange Cassidy Jericho debate. We had the world title match. Matt Cardona made his debut. A lot of stuff went down here tonight. I think what would probably be the best is to kind of go through some of the high points we liked of the show, instead of doing our typical breakdown of where we go by segment. We both give our thoughts on it. I think we can just kind of hit a high point and low point here, what we thought was some of the better things that happened on the show, some things we thought could have been done better, and what our favorite moment was overall for the night. So for those of you that are watching, please definitely follow the podcast, and we'll do social media gigs here as we get toward the end. But comment on what you guys thought, what you thought were the high point and the low points of Dynamite tonight. It's recording this Wednesday night directly after Dynamite goes off the air. Of course, these episodes do get uploaded Thursday afternoons. But yeah, so overall, what did you think of the show? What were some of your high points, some of your low points, and what did you think of tonight's episode?
Yeah, I think the highest point obviously was the Moxley match with Darby. That was pretty intense. And then some other segments that I liked. I liked the 12-man tag match that started the show with every member basically of Dark Order, and then FTR and the Elite Young Bucks. And that match was really good. I think the dynamic of Harwood getting hurt, and then Cash Wheeler and Hangman basically leaving the Young Bucks and Omega away from each other, again trying to poke maybe a little bit into the future of trios competition, where we could see FTR break away and Hangman and Kenny possibly break away, with Hangman actually coming back at the end and kind of getting himself over a little bit over everybody else. I thought that was a solid match. The Jericho Orange Cassidy debate, I'm going to have to go back and re-listen to it, because I know OC did a lot of talking, but it was at this moment that my phone would not stop ringing. And so I was kind of aware of what was going on, but I need to go back and watch that segment again. I'm sure it was fantastic. OC actually laying the SmackDown a little bit. And to see ERIC Bischoff back on the network, he helped basically build Wrestling Wise. Awesome to always see Mr. EB back on any sort of wrestling show. I thought overall everything kind of flowed well. To kind of counteract from yesterday's debate we had, it was not a Vince Russo episode. It flowed very well. I like the fact in this episode that they're bringing Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara kind of restarting that feud. I believe it was the last pay-per-view they were supposed to fight. Then Sammy got in trouble and was suspended for a while. And so I hope that they can actually give us a good send-off on that feud as well. But overall, it was a solid night. MJF had a good little segment there with his election headquarters, and Lee Johnson's part of that. I thought overall, I think maybe if I could knock it anything, not much women's action. I think we had one women's match, and that was Swole versus Rebel. It was like a 3-minute squash match. But I guess to counteract, they had like 4 matches on Dark this week for the women, and then 2 matches on Monday for the women's tag tournament, which is going to be an every Monday thing now. So they're kind of competing with Raw. No, I'm just kidding. It's on an hour before Raw starts, so it'll be over before Raw gets done. It was a solid show. I would give it a B if I were to rank it, and I'm sure we'll discuss it a little bit more of why it wasn't the best Dynamite from what I could tell. Again, I was kind of proactive with other things, kind of distracted a little bit. I'm just going to have to tell people that my phone's off on Wednesdays from now on, I guess. But, yeah, pretty good match. Pretty good show overall.
Yeah, I thought it was an overall very solid show tonight. A really, like you said, a very fluid show. Kind of flowed pretty well from beginning to end. Everything kind of seemed pretty good in order. Didn't seem too off, too nonchalant, too out of the sort. So that's definitely a good positive from this show. Didn't get a whole great glimpse of the 12-man tag. My fiance and I were putting down our 5-year-old for the night. So kind of missed most of that match. But from what I saw, it was definitely very interesting. And your point exactly with the FTR thing and Omega and Hangman, and then Brody Lee with the mix with Hangman Page as well. I don't know where these feuds are going to go toward since we are starting to now get the countdown for All Out. It's a month away from tomorrow, the 6th of September, I believe is the show, or the 5th. Either way, we're about a month away from All Out. Is Hangman going to face Brody Lee? Is Omega and Hangman going to lose the tag titles before All Out? Are they going to face FTR? FTR wins the belts. Where does the Young Bucks fit into the FTR thing as well? So I mean, just somewhat different storylines going on that I'm a little confused with. So I'm going to be anxious to see, and that's kind of one of the negatives I have for tonight. Where are these storylines going to go? Who's going to fight what at All Out? So I mean, you got like 4 different storylines, 5 different storylines just intertwined in that one 12-man match. So needs to kind of break apart a little bit, make it a little more clear, more concise. That way, as a viewing audience, we know who's fighting who at All Out, what feuds we need to, what storylines we're dealt with. So that way we know going into the show, into the pay-per-view, exactly what's going on. Didn't care for the women's segments, even though, like you said, they had their own little spiel for the women's tag tournament on Monday on YouTube. And then as well as the YouTube show Dark, they had a few matches on there as well. But in my opinion, until they get that second show on network television, they need to promote that women's division more. I understand it's one of your lower points, especially because Britt's still hurt, Chris is still hurt. You don't have Riho, Sheeta, can't rely on her every single week. I get that, but we still got to implement these women somehow, some way onto the main show, because if you're going to just put them on the B shows and the C shows and whatnot, not many people are going to care. I don't know what the viewership was as of right now for the Women's Cup tournament on Monday. I don't know what Dark's numbers are as of right now from yesterday, but I can guarantee you that more people would pay attention to the women's on Dynamite if they had a little more time, a little more in-depth stuff going on that I think would grab the audience a little bit more. Even if they got some of their top stars hurt, you can still make with the cards you're dealt with. Best Friends getting a big win over Proud and Powerful. It was a really, really good tag match. Trent seems to always get his ass kicked in most of the matches that Best Friends are in, but it was a really, really solid tag team match. I would not mind seeing these two tag teams fight off every other week, either on Dark or Dynamite or on the pay-per-view. Very, very good. The Guevara and Hardy thing, like you mentioned before, they picked up where left off. I like that. That was very good. Matt Hardy got absolutely busted open. The dude was leaking like a faucet. You have to emphasize on the New York accent with that word, faucet. As Gordon Sully would say, and like JR mentioned on the broadcast, he was covered in a crimson mask, all right. But cool to see that. Cool to see Matt Cardona make his debut with Cody. That was a pretty solid tag team match against the Dark Order members, John Skylar and Alex Reynolds. They, of course, got the win there, did Cardona and Cody. I wonder what Cardona's deal is going to be. I don't know if it's a one-off thing, very short contract. I'd like to see him a little more in AEW. I think he could really fit well into that scene, especially in the mid-card scene. I'm trying not to go down every little thing about the show, but it's hard to not point out some of the things that I liked and didn't like. Like I said, kind of the only things I didn't like that were the negatives were the women's segment, and then the 12-man tag was a little bit of a cluster of a match. And then, like I said, you've got like so many storylines going into that just makes it hard to keep up with. The debate, some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. I don't really think there's a thing in the middle that you can, it was okay. Eazy-E, Eric Bischoff, coming back to TNT's for the first time since March of 2001, or the Turner Network since March of 2001. That was pretty cool to see. And interesting person to use as a debate. But hey, if Bischoff is cool with it, do it. I would like to see Bischoff more in AEW. I think he could be a really good prominent role as a either manager, as a figure face of the company or something like that. That'd be really cool. Cassidy with his intellectual speaking was great. The debate itself was really fun. While we've had something like these before on wrestling programs, I think this was a lot different in some ways. It was just fun. Yeah, you had the little beat down at the end. I get that, but the way that the conversation went and the way that the dialogue was fantastic in my opinion. And like I said, if you didn't enjoy that, you don't have a comical bone in your body. I will say this, and I've said this every single podcast, I think, for the past month and a half. Wrestling's got different flavors. Pick the flavor you like and run with it, because not every wrestling show is going to have that same flavor to it. Not every wrestling show is going to have a perfect show that every single person is going to like. It's very rare that happens. So whatever show you enjoy it. Whatever flavor you like on that show, run with it, because that flavor may expire. You may get old of that flavor in a few weeks or a few months, and you want to find something else. The World Title match was fantastic. Darby as a human ragdoll. My gosh, it was such a brutal match for Darby. Toughness and tenacity was there. That was cool to showcase that. Moxley definitely got him over more, I think. You got to do something more with this Darby character, though. I don't know where he goes from here. Moxley is going up against MJF at All Out for the World Title, where I predict that MJF was going to win the World Title a few weeks ago, if you guys remember that. But yeah, overall fun show, good show. I just think that you're definitely going to need to turn your phone off on Wednesday nights. I think of the 100% of the show, you probably watched 25% of it, and that's okay. I'm not going to yell at you for that. But I need everybody that's watching this podcast, if you have a social media account, and we'll plug these social medias here in a little bit. If you have Facebook or Twitter, at the end, maybe I'll give you his Gmail account. I don't know. But you need to send this boy a message. And all I want the message to say is no. That's all I need to say. Just no. He knows what I mean by that. He'll figure it out. You guys have no idea what I mean by that. But please just say in big, bold letters, no, exclamation point. Don't do it. Just that. That's all I got to say. But anything you want to add to that, sir?
No, I think you get the point there. I just the one thing that I caught from what you said, I do agree. They need to they've had time now to kind of build a little bit of storyline. Now they gotta get it ready for All Out. Like you said, it's a month away. It's a month away, and with NXT getting ready to have one of their next pay-per-views. I think they have a pay-per-view in a couple of weeks, I believe. It's time for you to kind of you have the basis for all your stories now. You have MJF and Moxley. We know that's going to happen. Work on that. MJF, he's a mastermind of orating and giving promos, and Moxley has that no BS attitude. I think they'll set that championship matchup really well. You kind of need to get your tag team scene. You gotta have a tag team title match at All Out. So you're gonna have to get that figured out. You have Brody Lee kind of having intermittent feuds with Adam Hangman Page. So is he gonna him and Cole Cabana, I guess, would be the tag team that would maybe go against them, but then they're not even ranked as a tag team. And Grayson and Evil Uno, I've already lost to them a couple weeks ago. So who's going to be that next tag team? One can assume it's maybe going to be FTR eventually. I don't know. See, that's the thing, is they're pushing FTR as kind of part of the elite right now. So they're in the next couple of weeks, they're going to have to solidify that tag team match, because you don't want to pull a 2001 WCW and get like less than a week of promotion for a championship match. The women's division, same thing. You have Sheeta, but who's going to be her contender? Who's going to fight her at All Out? Obviously, we have Swole fighting Britt. We kind of saw that, and that's going to be a good feud as well, I think. But who's going to be the number one contender to fight Hikaru Shida for the title? Is it Nyla again? She get her rematch? That's probably where I think it's probably going to go, especially with Vicky Guerrero as her manager. And then where else can you go? Is the TNT title going to be on the line? I think that's the only title match that you don't really necessarily have to build up a feud for, simply because of what Cody's done with it. I think next week's match with Cody and Scorpio Sky is going to be a hell of a match, and it's going to be I think one of two things are going to happen. It's either going to be a Cody heel turn. I think we might be able to see that next week, or we'll see Scorpio upset the world and take the belt. I think there'll be a lot of surprises in that match, but overall, you kind of have to get your feuds and your storylines. They're solidified as where you want them to go, but you gotta head them towards the peak, towards the climax at the pay-per-view in a couple weeks. Especially with WWE, not only NXT but WWE, they're having 2 pay-per-views back-to-back weeks. I don't understand that, but you kind of got to get your stories in line if you want to, kind of compete. If that's just, they probably don't even really give a crap about what WWE does. Vince does about AEW. Obviously, he's putting in a second pay-per-view a week after SummerSlam. But yeah, it's going to be fun to lead up to All Out. I think All Out, I think you might agree with me on this, is kind of considered the WrestleMania of AEW. With, I would say, Double or Nothing being kind of the SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble of AEW. With that being said, I am excited for the next couple of weeks to see where it goes. Happy to see Matt Cardona actually wrestle and be taken seriously for once. The dude has literally, since like the mid-2000s or the mid-2010s, gotten himself over through the fans, and I think this is a perfect example of a guy that wasn't really given much of an opportunity elsewhere, and now I think he'll take the best with what's going on. As far as I understand, it is kind of a short-term deal, which I don't really understand, but hopefully it brings some leeway. They give him a little bit of a spotlight, and we'll see what happens there. But in the end, it was a pretty good show. Like you said, I probably watched like 25% of it. Gotta do better next week. I got to tell everybody not to fucking bother me on Wednesdays after 8 o'clock. 7:59, my phone's going on Do Not Disturb or something. I don't know. No, it was a good show. And can't wait. Next week we have a pretty loaded show. I think we have Jericho versus Orange Cassidy. Is that next week or in 2 weeks? I think it's next week. And then Scorpio versus Cody. So excited to see where that leads. Excited to see maybe Orange Cassidy beat Chris Jericho next week. That would be fun to see. It's fun to watch. And I wonder if Bischoff if he was just doing a one-up with AEW, or if they're going to push him in some other capacity. I wouldn't be down for either. If he doesn't want to do full-time or even part-time wrestling anymore, I understand that. I am interested in listening to how AEW talked to him, which Conrad will bring up in a future episode of 83 Weeks. So yeah, it was a good show overall. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, a little bit, quite a bit of stuff there to unwind after what you said. I'll kind of breaking it down into, I guess, some of the main things to talk about. WWE with the 2 pay-per-view things, I think it's just absolutely ridiculous and just petty on Vince's part. But I agree that AEW needs to get their storylines in check and order. So you guys, we can talk things a little bit negatively about AEW. It's not always blowing smoke up the ass. I promise you. But I think that AEW does need to get kind of in gear as to what storylines they're going to run with, set up the card for All Out, and let's just go full steam ahead. I think ever since All In a couple years ago, that this was kind of the brainchild, and this is kind of where the start to come in fruition that AEW started a couple years back. And I think the name changed a little bit from All In to All Out. Kind of the same purpose. I would agree that it's kind of like the WrestleMania. Cody, I think, kind of slightly disagrees. I think he said in an interview a couple months back that he thinks he's like, maybe Revolution could be a WrestleMania. And I'm like, I don't see that. I'm like, I don't even know if the November pay-per-view will stay as full gear, but I don't see that as being the WrestleMania show. But yeah, I'd agree that Double or Nothing is probably the SummerSlam, probably the second biggest show as far as notoriety and build up and storylines to that. I think All Out definitely is a mania, so they need to make sure that they hit a home run no matter what with this. And their pay-per-views have always been very, very good, and that's mainly because of match quality, but the storylines that go with that can also play a major factor into that. So just got to get the storylines in check, and we'll go from there. Matt Cardona, man. If AEW was around in 2011 when Cardona, a.k.a. Zack Ryder, did that whole internet thing, the Long Island IC show, whatever it was, boy, I tell you, if he was in AEW and did that and had that creative freedom, I guarantee you he'd be like Orange Cassidy and be just super popular, and not solely based on his wrestling style, but because of the character that he possesses. But I'm glad to see him get a little bit of a shot here in AEW. I hope that he kind of stays a little bit longer. Maybe it's kind of one of those, hey, let's see what you got, see if the fans react to you well on social media and stuff like that, and go from there. Yeah, the women's division, I don't even know how to fix the women's division right now, because it's just, you got to start somewhere and you got to be consistent with it. I understand that the injuries are going to happen and it's going to put a kink in your plans. That's totally understandable, but we just got to push forward. We got to move on somehow, some way. WWE does a great job with next man up mentality and next man up storylines. AEW's got to learn that. Got to learn to overcome the adversity and to adapt on the fly. Gosh, what else did you say? I know you said a couple other things there that I know I'm missing. Yeah, turn your phone off at 7:59. Except for when tweeting during the show, if you tweet during the show like I do. Which, by the way, guys, I do appreciate the followers. We're up to 925, on the road to 1,000. On the road to 1,000 followers. That is amazing, considering just how nonchalant and non-super committal to this I have been, especially in the past few weeks and over time. But I guarantee you guys, the more followers I get, the more content and people see these shows, and the more the interactions we get on social media, and we kind of build up a little more of a fan base here. I guarantee you we'll definitely make more of a promise to be more committal towards that. and to deliver better content, more content. You know, you guys deserve that. The Russo debate that we recorded last night, it's going to be uploaded here shortly in a matter of a couple of days. I want to do the finishing touches on that, make sure everybody's nice and happy with the recording of it. That was a fun debate. I would love to do more of those type of things with not only with Randall and yourself, fans of the show, or anybody that has any kind of opinion or controversial things. You know, I kind of want to do a this is kind of the first time that I'm let's see. My internet says my internet was unstable. Is my internet unstable? Can you still see me? Can you still hear me? That's weird. That's really weird. Momento, por favor. This is what happens when you go live. I thought maybe my internet was unstable like Dean Ambrose and WWE was. No, what I would love to do, and I want to talk about this more a little bit when I'm doing a little bit more of a solo thing, because it's a brand new idea I kind of want to lay out there. Not to get controversial, but there's a gentleman out there that does YouTube videos, has his own show. His name is Steven Crowder. People love him or hate him. I'm not going to tell you the political side of that, but I love his Change My Mind videos. What I would love to do is do a Change My Mind on pro wrestling ideas, either controversial ideas or product currently, in the past, or anything like that. I would open up maybe a thing on Twitter, and either people can send me videos of what their idea is, and I rebuttal that to see if they can change my mind, or I present a topic and people have to, you know, get my stance on it. And people either send in videos on Twitter, DM me, or maybe we can get some of the guest fans on the show and we try to debate that. That'd be pretty cool. I gotta do something special when we get to the 1,000 follower mark on Twitter. I don't know what that'll be. Probably only a Twitter only thing instead of having it up here on YouTube or on Anchor or Spotify where I do my audio only podcast. But we'll get there. We're 80 or 75 followers away from 1,000. Can we get there, ladies and gents? That'd be great. That would be great. But yes, I agree. It's a good episode tonight of AEW. And of course, we always throw up a poll. I'm not sure if you did. You did do a poll. He did a poll as well. The poll, as always, and I had a fan from last week that asked me to put in another answer to the poll, and I agreed with them. I thought it was a good idea, and so I did that this week. And the poll got the second most votes of any poll I've ever done, maybe the third most. Either way, anything above 30 to me is a lot. Even if I have 900 followers, not everybody reads my stuff or looks at it. But to get more than 30 votes to me is a good, successful poll. Even though if it's a small sample size for us. But hey, that's okay. So my poll for this night, let your voices be heard, ladies and gents. What did you guys enjoy more? NXT, Dynamite, which one did you enjoy more? My 4 choices were Dynamite, NXT, you didn't watch either, or you enjoyed both. And that was that fan I was talking about from last week who said you should probably put in they enjoy both, because I enjoyed both. That's a fair enough statement, fair enough outlook on that. So if it wasn't for the 7% of the 43 votes I had, if it was not for the 7% that said they enjoyed both, we'd have a tiebreaker. But because we had a 7% that said they enjoyed both, we got a tie atop the poll. For the first time, NXT really caught up to all these AEW, and I tried to implement more of the NXT stuff as far as polling goes. We finally got a nice, good neck-and-neck battle here. So 47% said you enjoyed Dynamite more, 47% said you enjoyed NXT more, and 7% of you said you enjoyed both. So appreciate you guys participating in that poll and showing your thoughts. And yeah, so what was your poll for this evening, Sir James BtheC?
I ran a poll. Basically, it's just real simple. Again, I wasn't super involved tonight with the live tweeting, but I said, did you enjoy AEW or NXT? That was it, AEW or NXT. You had 43 votes, I believe you said. I had 41 votes. And for the first time, I think, ever in history of me doing these polls, NXT actually won the poll. And they won it by a pretty substantial amount. NXT had 63% of the vote, and AEW had 37% of the vote. I have tried not to go on a follow rampage of just AEW fan pages, so I've tried to like a little bit of everything. That scares me though. What's the viewership gonna be? I know the only segment I know that happened on NXT was Pat McAfee beat the shit out of Adam Cole. So obviously that's gonna be at the next pay-per-view, whatever that is. I think it's NXT XXX or whatever they called it. Has it really been 30 NXT pay-per-views? I think that's what they were doing it for. Is this the 30th NXT pay-per-view? But that way we don't have to break up this. I'll go ahead and just give my rant. And you're close to 1,000 followers. I'm at 410. I haven't been actively trying to get followers the past couple of weeks. We've been busy at the beach, and last week, I don't know why we didn't even record an episode. I think we were still kind of in vacation mode a little bit, and yeah. But back to business today. So get me to 500. Catch me up to 1,000. I probably won't get to 1,000 before him, but give me to 1,000. Something. I'll drop some sort of giveaway or prize package or special edition podcast or whatnot when we get there. I think that was interesting. The fact that NXT kind of had a pretty good showing on social media tonight. Normally they have pretty good viewership, but their social media is kind of lacking in terms of fans talking. And AEW Dynamite was trending number 2 as of like 5 minutes ago. So they still had a pretty decent show. Maybe NXT was just a little better. I never watch it, so I couldn't tell you. But anyway, go ahead and give my spiel. You can follow me on Twitter. Get me to 500, 1,000. Follow it at BtheC podcast. You can. I'm back. Probably tomorrow. I will upload the Russo debate on the YouTube page for my podcast. So go ahead and give that a subscribe before it's released. Taking the Bump podcast. It'll also be up on his YouTube page as well. Probably tomorrow or the day after. And follow the Anchor page. Anchor, you can just search Taking the Bump. Anchor.fm/taking-the-bump, and Facebook Taking the Bump Wrestling Podcast. And merchandise, fam, I need y'all to start buying my stuff. I'm poor. I need a little bit of money. ProWrestlingTees.com/TheB podcast. Go ahead and get the merchandise. If more people start buying it, I'll put up more designs. And like always, 25% of any purchase goes to a charity of your choice. I think that's all. Back to your host.
Appreciate you, sir. And like you mentioned, guys, he needs to get to 500. It's not a competition, but I would like my fellow co-host here to get to 500. Build up that Twitter page for him, please. Of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter as we are at the race to 1,000. Once we get to 1,000, like he kind of mentioned with his, I'm gonna do something cool. Whether it's a personal shout out to the 1,000th follower, whether it's a special podcast with that person, or heck, even a giveaway, something like that. I'll put up a poll as we get really closer to the 1,000 mark there, because we don't get tens and tens and tens of followers every day. It's a few here and there, So once we get to about 950, I'll probably put up a poll and say, hey, once we get to 1,000, what would you as fans would like to see? Would you like to see a giveaway? Would you like to see kind of a personal shout out, as them as a guest on the podcast? We'll go from there. We'll see. But, of course, follow us on Twitter at BTCPod18. That's B as in boy, T as in Tom, C as in cat, pod, Pod. the numbers 18 on Twitter. Beyond the Curtain podcast on Facebook. I have not really messed with that recently, but hey, we're on there as well. Do have a Anchor/audio only podcast. It's Beyond the Curtain Wrestling Podcast, and you can listen to that on all your favorite podcast listening devices: Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, all that good stuff. I always make sure I post those audio only episodes on Twitter as well as Facebook, so that way you guys know when those are uploaded. ProWrestlingTees.com/Beyond the Curtain Wrestling Podcast. Only got 2 designs up there, the podcast logo as well as my saying, yeah, buddy. And of course, you guys buy a shirt. 25% of your purchase will go towards a charity of your choosing. You gotta let me know that charity of your choosing, and within 1 week, that 25% of the money that you purchase your shirt with, I will send towards that charity and give you proof. That way you know I am not a hack, a scam, or anything like that. So I appreciate you guys for following us, for blowing up our Twitter followers here in the last recent episodes here. Like I said, hopefully we can kind of get this room situated a little bit more so we can kind of take you a little bit of on tour of the room, give you guys a little bit better quality as far as video goes and whatnot. Be on the lookout for that Russo Debate podcast. That'll drop either tomorrow or early Friday, and it'll be on James's podcast or YouTube page. And I will make sure that we share it on social media, so that way we do that as well. We need to get that YouTube page blown up, guys. We're on the video thing now. Most of you guys that have said, hey, I'd love to listen or watch a podcast, but I want the YouTube version of it. I got you the YouTube version. I need more subscribers. I need more followers. I need more watchers. Come on now. Come on with it. Give me something. So I need you to like the videos. I need you to comment on any feedback of the show. How are we doing? Do we suck? Are we great? Are we horrible? Are we mediocre? Are we fantastic? What can we work on? What did you guys like about Dynamite, or what did you guys like about NXT? What are some ideas you guys want to see us do for anything, whether it's debates, challenges, whatever the case may be? We need your feedback. It just takes a few seconds to type it in, and don't be afraid to do it, because if you don't, how are we supposed to know if you guys like it or don't like the video, besides just keep posting the same stuff every week and you guys are going to get bored of it? Also, subscribe to that channel. There is a little thing called subscribe. It's right down here, right around there somewhere. Press that button. Turn the notification bell icon on so you know when a new episode is uploaded every single time. It's as easy as that, guys. So with that being said, I appreciate James, of course, for coming in, as always, and helping me out with these shows, these AEW recap shows. Next week should be a very fantastic show. Of course, you guys will listen to and watch our recaps of that next week. For James and myself, Cody, appreciate you guys tuning in this week to Beyond the Curtain Wrestling Podcast. We will see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your day, night, evening, whatever it may be, time-wise. Hope you guys are staying safe, staying healthy. Take care of yourselves, and have an amazing day, guys. We'll see you next week.